language and knowledge and philosophy invalidate the essence of this word. So for me, I think social change should be maybe social phenomenal change, social progressive change. That is just my input. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right. All right. Okay, that's good. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, please, Doc. We can hear you.
Very good. Right. So I'll comment on the last speaker's view last, but so far I got a lot of very interesting comments. Like the second one, and then I think the last but one's comment is made very simple to understand what we mean by writing for social change. Now on the last comment, yes, yes, we don't want to turn this class into a philosophical class or philosophy of language class. I'm a philosopher myself. I'm at the philosophy department, so I understand where it's coming from.
Okay.
I understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
The word change means like moving from one state to the other, right? And like you said,
yes.
It can mean
yes.
It can be positive, it can be negative, right? But you should also acknowledge that certain words and phrases can have contextual meaning. If you only use the etymology, sometimes you may get it wrong, right? So the word social change has come to be understood as a positive change, right? It has come to be understood, and so that is what is being used to stand. Yeah, if you want to go into the go into etymology and all that, then what you are saying may be true. But words and phrases.
Doctor, I don't know if you heard my submission.
Social media.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a good point you made, but you should also understand that certain words and phrases also can be given contextual meaning. So, and the meaning of words also changes over time. So what a word meant today does not mean that it should remain the same forever, because the way we use the language also progresses, also changes, whether positive or negative, it also changes. So we use it in context of where we are, right? So everywhere in the world of literal writing, if you say social change, everybody has in mind positive change. Nobody's advocates for social change and have in mind negative change. All right. So that is that also. All right. But that doesn't take anything away from what has been said so far. Okay. All right. So yeah, so all that you said are right and true. What I want you to take from what has been said so far is that, and this represents the thesis of what I'm saying today, right? Writing is a tool for social transformation, and we can use it to inspire change. Writing is a tool for social transformation, and we can use it to inspire change. And I think this point is very important, especially for freedom writers, right? If you are a freedom writer, then you cannot run away from writing for social change. It must be part of you, because as a freedom writer or as an advocate for freedom or liberty, you are always looking out for things that hinder freedom. And these things that hinder freedom are the social ills that we, as freedom and liberty advocates, we will identify and write against. And so writing for social change is a core aspect of being a freedom writer. You cannot run away from it, right? There are injustices going on. There are people being discriminated against and all that. These are all things that stand in the way of freedom. And so we identify these issues and we use our pen, our ink to, to make a statement, to bring society's mind to these things that are ongoing so that there can be some positive, or to use the words of my friend, progressive change, right? Okay. Now we are all familiar with this common adage, the pen is mightier than the sword. And I don't know how far you agree with that, but there's a lot of truth to that. The pen is mightier than the sword. Now let me give you a little bit of history behind this phrase. The English words, the pen is mightier than the sword, were first written by novelist and playwright Edward Bulwer Lytton in 1839 in the historical play Cardinal Richelieu. That is a play that he wrote, and that is where he made use of that phrase, the pen is mightier than the sword. Now, in that play, there was a character called Richelieu, and he was a chief minister to King Louis VIII. King Louis VIII. Now, Richelieu discovers a plot to kill him, but he was a priest. And as a priest, he was unable to take up arms against, in the play, they call it a page. He has a page. He had a page called Francois. Now, Francois pointed out to him that, quote, but now at your command are other weapons, my good lord. Now, Richelieu agreed with him and said, the pen is mightier than the sword. Take away the sword, states can be saved without it. I repeat that. He says, the pen is mightier than the sword. Take away the sword, states can be saved without it. Then later on, the saying caught on with everybody else. But that's not to say that before he wrote it in his play, that idea wasn't around. I mean, way before him, the idea that a lot could be done with words, with a pen, with a stroke of a pen or ink at that time, was a well-known, adage. But it is said that he was the first to put it in writing. So think about the saying closely. The pen is mightier than the sword, and link it with writing for social change. And there you will appreciate why the pen is mightier than the sword. How many of us can pick swords? How many of us can shoot a weapon? How many of us can even have time to go on the street and protest? But from the comfort of our homes, we can write and make impact. We can write and change society for the better. Our words can encourage. Our words can move. Our words can inspire. Our words can create positive chaos in society. If you don't believe it, consider the work that I read at the beginning, Things Fall Apart, and then the one by James Baldwin. If you don't believe it, refer back to Martin Luther King Jr. when he was in jail. He wrote pieces of letters on, was it toilet roll or newspaper, back of newspapers? I've forgotten. But these words have become living words, known as Letter from Birmingham Jail. It was these words that caught on with the civil rights movement. And many people, many Blacks, were empowered to march on the street to protest against racial discrimination, and that got the US to sit up and adjust its laws. So words have the power to change a lot. So indeed, it's true that a pen can be mightier than the sword. Because through the pen, we write ideas, concepts, ideology is what moves nations. Political parties, businesses, corporate institutions, NGOs, even our own ILEE runs on ideas. And these ideas are written with pens. So yes, ideas move nation. Civilization was created with ideas, with words. So writing for social change is very, very crucial. Now, bring your mind to the words on your screen, the one on the right-hand side by Martin Luther King Jr. He says, if you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write. If you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write. Of course, this quote has been attributed to Martin Luther King Jr., while many others believe that he may not be the one who wrote it. But nevertheless, we are concerned with the words rather than the author of the words. If you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write. And then an educationist and human behavior psychologist, Dolly Chell, also wrote that our mind does not end with our pen, with what our pen writes. Our mind does not end with what our pen writes. We also have choices of which pen, different ways to hold a pen, opportunities to share the pen, and influence over how the pen is viewed. That is, writers can use the pen to challenge the status quo. Now, I like this quote so much because it tells us of how creative we can be with our pen. The freedom and power that you have with your pen. You can choose whichever way you go with your pen. To the left, to the right, to the center, center right, center left, whatever. Once you hold in your hand that power, our might does not end with what our pen writes. We also have choices of which pen. You want to choose the pen of social justice, social change, or you want to choose the pen of political rights or economic rights, or what, maybe just fictional writing or fantasy or sci-fi, whatever you want to write, it's up to you, right? We also have choices of which pen, different ways to hold pen, right? Opportunities to share the pen, share the ideas, share the resources, and influence over how the pen is viewed. That is, writers can use the pen to challenge the status quo. In other words, writing for social change is the very fabric of a freedom writer. A freedom writer. He says, writing for social change often focuses on issues of ethics and morality, justice, and injustice. Writing for social change focuses on these things. It's all about ethics and morality, what is right and what is wrong. That's what ethics and morality is about, the question of what is right and what is wrong. So as a writer, you might have identified something which you think is wrong, might identify some ills in the society, some things that is going on that you feel like it is untoward, it is not right. So you need to, let people know about it. It also borders on issues of justice and injustice, the marginalization of the minority, people whose voices are not heard, the poor, imbalances of power, abuse of the environment, nature, and all that, animals, whatever. Of course, you can also go the legal route, the justice system of the society. You feel like there's an injustice in the justice system, it's also writing about social change. So that is the core. That is the, defining, part, or if you like, the very definition of writing for social change. Because of the network, I'm limiting my back and forth with you because I have planned a lot of questioning, and but I'm afraid the network will not be kind. So I will just go on, and after that I will pick as many questions as there can be. But yes, at a point I also ask you, like on this slide, I'm asking you, what can you write on as an author for social change? What do you think are some of the things that you can write on? I've mentioned earlier that it always borders on issue of ethics and morality, justice and injustice. But these are broad topics, and within them there are a lot of things in your own local community, in your own society, in your own country, on your own continent, and of course globally. There are certain things that you think you've identified that you can write on and push for positive change, push for progressive change, a change in attitude, a change in behavior, a change in, government response, a change, push people to action and all that. What are some of the things that you believe we can write on as authors for social change? You can unmute and say what you have in mind or put it in the chat, and then our hostess can read it for us.
Okay, so I can see that Wilson is saying he will be writing on injustice in the Ghana legal system. And Christabel Amu says she will also be writing on the problems of teenage.
I will need them to be more specific, because if you say injustice in the Ghana legal, there are a lot of things you can talk about. Point to one of them and let's see.
Okay. So that's what our facilitator is saying. So maybe you can redefine your title and come back again. And then Na says sexuality lynching of suspected criminals. Yeah. So that's what she will be
Okay. Oh, this one I will wish everybody will chip in, because it's just identifying certain social issues around you that you feel like you can also write to bring about change, or to even bring society's mind to it.
Yeah, so everyone should kindly state what they feel is the problem and how they would want to address it in the chat box so that I can read it and then we all see. Okay. Balikis Anova says she writes on social justice, focusing on gender equity and rights of inmates among others. Inmates among others. And then Nana Steele, says I'll write on the unfair treatment of the lecturers to students in the academic arena.
Okay.
So I think Wilson has defined his topic now. He says injustice in the legal system, specifically on unfair trials and prolonged court hearings.
Very good. All right.
Like,
That's good. Yeah.
the issue of justice for climate change versus industrialization, I think I'm being so unhappy about it because most African countries are so green
Good.
when it comes to carbon emissions. But when it comes to climate change now, most, if the Western nations, especially the US, wants to pull out, it gets me sick. No. Okay, I don't know if you work with that,
I like the passion. Now, yeah, let me say something about that. I like the passion, right? And
uh,
to be a very good writer for social change, you must be passionate about the thing you are writing about. Right? When somebody writes on something, they are passionate about it. You, the reader, you can see when you are reading it. The passion they have within them, some way, somehow flows onto the paper. It comes naturally. If you are passionate about something, I mean, when somebody writes something and they're just writing because they have to write, it's very mechanical. When you read it, you see that it's just mechanical. It has all the good structure, but there's no passion. When somebody writes passionately, and that is a very good, something that poets do have, right? When a poet or a songwriter write a song, that's why sometimes you read a poem, or you listen to a song and feel like, what? How did this person know to say this or to write this? It's like the song was written specially for you, because the person is passionate. The person is with it finds him or herself within what they are writing. So passion is very important in writing for society. Otherwise, you will be discouraged if you are not passionate, because when you are writing for social change, you meet a lot of hindrances, a lot of opposition will come your way, because people don't like to change because they are comfortable, they are benefiting from the ills that is going on. So if you are also not passionate, you will get discouraged and you stop writing, right? But if you are passionate, you won't stop until you have seen real change, the change that you are yearning to see, right? So I like her passion, and I hope that she gets the momentum after this lesson to put something down and write about what she feels. Okay.
all right, thank you.
All
It's
right.
actually
So those are very good.
Felix Aneba. Yeah.
Okay. Felix. Oh
Yes.
yeah, Felix. All right, that's good. Okay. It's very
Yes, please. Please, you
okay.
can go
Go
ahead.
ahead, please. Yes.
Okay, I wanted to read the rest
All
of
right.
the.
So okay, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
All right, so this one doesn't come with a name, but he or she says social justice with emphasis on favoritism along line of nepotism. Christabel Amu says, I'll be writing on the problems of teenage pregnancy and its causes. And
Okay.
I think the person wants to reiterate on the formal, what he wrote earlier, social justice with emphasis on favoritism along the line of nepotism. He's saying that the solution would be advocacy writing against nepotism and favoritism in government and social institutions. Albert Otukuno says environmental issues with concerns like climate change, pollution, and conservation, which can have far-reaching impact on the ecosystem and human society. I think Felix is back again, the passionate writer. He says the issue of justice for climate change versus industrialization. I think I'm being so unhappy about it because most African countries are so green when it comes to carbon emission, but when it comes to climate change responsibilities, now most of the Western nations are now interested in the conversation, especially the US wants to pull out pull out, yeah, and it gets me sick. No, I think he's just editing what he posted earlier. And then Richmond Asabi says relevance to of acceptance in, I think maybe you want to say relevance of acceptance in society. And then, okay, all right. So I think that's all for now.
Very good, very good.
These are the
All of these are wonderful topics and suggestions, right? Social issues, a problem that affect a group of people. It is a common problem we see happening in our world. But sometimes they're not so common, right? Sometimes we don't even know about it. Maybe we know about the general issue of corruption, but we may not know that there exists specific corruption within specific institution or with a specific, person. So those of you who are in Ghana, you know of our popular investigative journalist Anas Amiru Anas, right? He rise to bring social change, right? He unearths through investigation, right? Covert investigation to unearth the ills of society, corruption, abuses, or abuse of power, and all those kind of stuff. So social issues, a problem that affects a group of people. And there are many things that is affecting society today. Many, many things. You can do it at the micro level, that is your small communities, even in your university, your school, your workplace, or you can go at it at the macro level, go national, go regional, go international, continental, and global, right? So it's all about you. It's all about where you feel your strength is, where you feel you will be heard most, or where you feel you can make the most impact. But remember, we're not just writing for writing's sake. It's not for entertainment. We have entertainment writers there. They are there. Comic writers, comedy. Yes, you read, laugh, and you release some stress. They are important also, right, in their own way. But writing for social change is a serious content and serious business. We are unearthing and bringing out people's concern, people's fears, people's agony. So it involves a lot of things are at stake. And there are many things at play, many powers at play. And sometimes your own life may be in jeopardy. And at the end of the day, I'll give you an example from Nigeria where somebody was killed for their words, their intention to write to bring social change. Of course, in Ghana, here we are familiar with the partner of Anas who got murdered. Although we don't know officially the reason behind his murder, we can only assume that he was murdered for what he does as a journalist, right? So it can be life-threatening, depending on if you are dealing with a very touchy issue, especially when it has political implication. But as a freedom writer, you must write. We cannot let these things deter us from writing. Ours is to bring change, and we have to keep writing until we see that change happening. Now, there are many ways you can go at it, right? Some people want to write, not just write, but go beyond writing, also become an activist as well. So they write and they hit the street, they move people to demonstrate, they do other things apart from writing also, right? To make sure that whatever they want to say is really heard. So as you can see on the screen, there are many issues: stereotyping, rioting, prison unfair, prison, drug, alcohol abuse, crime, gangs, pollution, homelessness, peer pressure, poverty, unemployment, war, racism, terrorism, bullying, discrimination, natural disaster, sexism, gender bias, segregation, homosexuality, and so on and so forth, right? So all of these things are there. On political and governance issue, we can talk about corruption, accountability, leadership, voter suppression, and democratic participation. Right? If government is, preventing other people from, taking part in election, trying to steal the ballot and all that, you can unearth these things and write them so that everybody will hear. Police brutality, criminal justice reform, migration issues, border issues, refugees, and all those kind of stuff. At the economic level, we can also talk about wealth inequality, the struggle by the lower class, poverty, unethical business practices by the big corporations, sustainable development, fair trade, housing and homelessness, on environment and climate change, as Felix was saying, we can talk about pollution, climate change, deforestation, so many things we can talk about. Even in health, we can also have a lot of issues in health to write about. We have issues like access to healthcare and medical justice, mental health awareness, reproductive rights and bodily autonomy, food justice, and so on and so forth. In education, as somebody mentioned, you can write about the unfair treatment that teachers are going through, digital divide and access to technology. These days when we watch or read many of our local, I'm talking about those of you in Ghana, we see that they try to tell us that in this community, they don't even have chairs in their schools. Pregnant women cannot even afford to pay their bills. In fact, the winner of Ghana Journalists Association's Best Journalist Award in 2021, one Portia lady at TV3, I mean, she did a piece on health, she said wealth for health, showing how expensive access to medical care can be, and so on and so forth, right? So, and one thing about writing for social change is that it's very impactful. It's very, very impactful, right? People get to listen, people get to read, because these are things that they can relate to all the time, right? Now, the impact, again, is because when the change happens, it impacts life. Recently, I was listening to Joy News, and Joy News is for those of you in Ghana, you know Joy News. They did a documentary piece on how the physically challenged people struggle every day to go for lectures at University of Ghana and all of those other tertiary universities in Ghana, right? How they have to struggle and navigate their way to lectures, the everyday suffering and all that, which got some people to donate to them wheelchairs and other educational materials and even financial aid, so that their life on campus can be better. So it's very impactful, very fulfilling to see that because of what you wrote, right, it has brought about progressive change, positive change that's made a positive impact on an individual's life, even if it's one person, right? We watch on TV about people who have gotten some weird medical condition and cannot even afford it. And because of that, we get a lot of contribution coming in from everywhere, and we're able to, fund the surgery or medical care of that person. So writing for social change is rewarding, not financially, but I mean, you can see real change going on. Now, one advantage that writing for social change has over political writing is that you are you are apolitical in the first place, because the things you are writing about mostly are not, of course, you can go political a bit, but even when you go political, you are not going political with party colors. You understand, right? It's different from people who write political pieces, and you can see clearly that they are writing from, this party's point of view. But writing for social change, you have a bigger audience because everybody can relate to what you are writing about, from all political divide, from all different class in society. Everybody can relate. HIV, I mean, pregnant people not able to afford cheating people at work, and all this poverty, everybody can relate to it. And so it's very, very impactful. And I will encourage everybody to give it a shot. Now, why do we write? The power of writing in social. I've even said some earlier. Why we write. Now, there are different ways we can write. Apart from writing a very long piece in a newspaper, or you can write a poem, a very thought-provoking poem, right? You can even write lyrics for a song. You may not be a musician, but you can write lyrics for a musician to sing. And the words of that music can make a lot of impact in society. We've heard some songs that have been banned in some countries because of the impact that and the words that they choose to use, right? They were pricking people's conscience, and so they got angered by it, and they asked them to ban those kind of songs. Some people have been arrested because of the song they sang, right? So there are many ways you can use to write for social change, apart from the traditional style of writing, right? You can use essays, you can write fictional books with a lot of social and moral, issues within it. Journalism, social media, blogs. These days, we have so many ways we can write for social change. People can even do blogspot and all those things that people do these days. And why does it work? Explaining how storytelling, argumentation, and dissemination make writing an effective tool for challenging issues. Now, we are Africans and we are blessed with storytelling. I mean, those of us who are a little bit older, you know how our grandparents used to tell us stories. Those of you who are Gen Zs and from affluent homes, I mean, I'm sure before you go to sleep, your mother will read to you bedtime stories and all that. We didn't get bedtime stories. We got stories from our grandmothers and all those coconut stories and all that. But these stories, because of that gift that we have, when we input this storytelling style of writing in our work, it has a lot of impact. It hooks the reader to the piece that you're writing, and they read to the very end, right? It's not those kind of story that you skim, and then you are done. No, because you want to see. It's very impactful. You're touched by the words, so you want to read to the very end. So the power of writing in for social change. If there was time, I would have asked you to contribute to the power, but because we don't have time, I will go through them quickly. As a tool for raising awareness, writing for social change is a tool for raising awareness of all the ills in society. It's one of the most effective ways writing drive change is by shedding light on social issues. Writers often use their platform to reveal injustices, expose corruption, and address inequality. For example, I don't know whether you are familiar with this book, Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe, were pivotal in shaping public opinion about slavery. Right. Similarly, writers today use blogs, social media, and articles to expose issues such as discrimination, climate change, and human rights abuses. By educating readers, writing sparks conversations that challenge outdated norms and promote positive change. Right. So we write to raise awareness. Very, very important. Some hidden things that people don't know that you have unearthed. You should write about it. Some people use pen names to hide their identity, right? So that people will not come, especially when you're writing about sensitive issues, you can use pen names to hide your identity. Pen name is a name that you use for your writing, which is not your original name, right? Anas Amiru Anas will cover his face, wherever he goes because he doesn't want to identify because of the kind of investigative work that he does and write about. Okay. He also writes to be a voice to the marginalized. Writing has the power to give a voice to those who are often ignored or silenced. Authors, poets, and journalists can capture the struggles of marginalized groups, bringing their experiences to the forefront. Through personal stories, memoirs, fictional characters, writers create empathy by immersing readers in unfamiliar realities. This connection builds understanding, which is crucial in breaking down stereotypes and fostering inclusivity, right? So the voices the people whose voices are not heard, because these days everything's moving fast. If you don't move fast like that, you'll be ignored, right? People in the interland, the villages, they are going through struggle, but we think the whole country is just the city, the capital cities. But there are things going on. There are things going on in homes, at workplaces, in factories, that the president may not be aware of, that the minister may not be aware of. It's your job to write about them. You can hide specific names, but you can write an expose about things that you think you have seen and protect your source. Number 3, it is a catalyst for activism. Writing for social change is a catalyst for activism, right? Now, these days we have a lot of activists ongoing, environmental activists, climate change activists, animal rights activists, whatever. And these activists, they are moved by the words that you write. It is words that pushes them to hit the street, to take up placards and go and stand at the Ministry of Justice and raise placards and ask for justice to be done. Right? When people are arrested unfairly, people are jailed without trial, words and gather people can move people. To give you a quite modern and political example, in Turkey, when I don't know whether he's still the president, but when the president at that time, there was an attempted coup, he sent WhatsApp message, and that WhatsApp message moved the entire citizen to Ghana up and march and fight the soldiers who were trying to conduct the coup. Just WhatsApp message. Or was it a WhatsApp video or something? I think, yes, you did a WhatsApp video. So words alone. So the words that we put on paper, they are that powerful to move and encourage activism. All right. There are just 5 of them. Number 4 is a means of cultural preservation. It's a means. Writing for social change is a means for cultural preservation. Right? We have a culture. And if you feel, as a freedom writer, you feel like some aspect of your culture is being threatened, you feel like, well, it's being overwhelmed by foreign culture and all that, it's your job to pick up your pen and write. Sometimes you need to write and bring our mind back to forgotten practices. So writing is important. Maybe you think that these days the youth are not dressing well. Pick up your pen and write. Not everybody will agree with you, but at least you will start a conversation. And such conversation lead to policies. Right? So it is important to not sit aloof, but write when you feel you have to eat. Now, another aspect of preserving culture is that, you see, the piece of literature that you write and put there is not just for this generation, for future generation. In many years to come, who knows who will pick up your work and who knows who will be inspired by what you have written. So we are not just writing for today, we're writing for future sake. If you don't write it, it dies with you. So we have to write it. As a tool for empathy and unity. Unity is strength. Solidarity, empathy, humanity works together. work together with compassion. Perhaps the most powerful impact of writing is its ability to foster empathy. Right? There's somebody suffering, somebody's not getting help that they need, somebody is being rejected, cannot have access to healthcare, basic drinking water. They cannot even go to school. They are walking to school barefooted. Your words, your works can incite empathy in society to bring us back to ourselves and say, oh, we have gone ahead and left these people behind. Let's go back and help them. That is the core mandate of writing for social change, to incite empathy for the marginalized, so that they can also be liberated, also have freedom as we have. Because poverty is a slave. It takes away your freedom. When you are poor, a lot of things you want to do that you cannot do. So we have to write and fight poverty with our pen. So then, how do we identify social issues to write about? It might be simple for many people because, I mean, you wake up in the morning, listen to the radio. Please, let's meet our microphone. Richmond, Afavier, the microphone is on. You wake up in the morning, your radio is on, your TV is on. You hear this and that, you hear that and that, BBC, CNN, with telling you a lot of things that's going wrong with society. There are very little positive news these days. Every time, negative, negative, negative. So it's quite easy for some people. As for those of us that we think it's not easy for us to identify social issues to write about, I want you to think about these 6 questions. What is your ideal society? If you want to identify social issue to write about, ask yourself, what is your ideal society? What is your ideal society? In other words, what in your perspective is a perfect society? Of course, you can never have a perfect society, though, but I mean, we are envisaging something, right? Or what do the authorities say ought to be the status quo, ought to be the standard? What is UN saying regarding access to healthcare? What is AU doing about freedom of movement? All these things. Well, the authorities involved, what are they saying? What is the standard way of living? Identify it. It can be your ideal. It can be what society agrees is the ideal. It can be what an authority says is the ideal. Identify it, find it in an area, in a field, whether healthcare, whether climate, environment, children, poverty, whatever. What is the ideal thing that ought to be? Then ask yourself, what is currently happening that is hindering society from achieving this thing, this ideal? If it is healthcare, what is happening in the healthcare that is preventing us from achieving 100% universal access to basic healthcare? We are trying to identify a social issue, right? What is your ideal? So of course, you have to pick an area, healthcare, justice system, poverty. Pick an area. What is supposed to be the ideal thing within this area that you have picked, right? So I'm picking healthcare. What is currently happening that is hindering society from achieving access to healthcare? Then you ask yourself, what needs to be done? Remember, you are writing for social change. So you need to at least let us know what you think needs to be done. What needs to be done, right? You don't write and leave it hanging. Who needs to do it? Whose job is to do that thing that needs to be done and it's not being done? Is it the Ministry of Health? Is it this person? Is it that person? Identify it. If you are writing as a journalist, of course, this will help you to know who to go and interview, who to go and ask. Who needs to do the thing that is not being done? Provide schools, provide healthcare, provide basic amenities. Whose job? Who is not doing it? Why are they not doing it? Is it government intervention? Is it lack of funds? Is it apathy? Is it incompetence? Is it corruption? Why are they not doing it? So you see, with these questions, you are unearthing social issues. You are going into the issues deeply, not just writing on the surface, this is the problem, and it's not of course, we need a figure, we need the facts, we need the history, but it's not just about that. We need to go into the details and find out more. What needs to be done? Who needs to do it? And why are they not doing it? Then what is your proposal, your solution? What is your answer? That's an important part. Don't leave us hanging and say, you be the best judge. Like many people write, and then it'll end that your judge is, your guess is as good as mine. No, my guess can never be as good as yours. You are the one writing to bring social change. What is your guess? Tell me what you think ought to be done. Propose something. Propose a solution. Have an answer. It may not be the perfect answer, but of course, when you are proposing something, don't overstate things that you know in reality can never happen. Right? Don't say the government should give every poor person 1 million Ghana cedis or 1 million naira every month. No, you know it can never happen. So be realistic about your proposal, about your solutions. But you must propose something, because you are the writer for social change. Don't leave us in the air and say your guess is as good as mine, or you be the best judge. No, I don't want to be the best. I want you to tell me what, because I'm reading from you. I want to know. Right? It's not just an expose of what is wrong, but also a suggestion of what ought to be done to make it right. So state it, tell us, be bold and say something, what is on your heart, that you think this ought to be. No, not everybody in the world will agree with you. That's the nature of writing, of freedom of thought. Nothing you write will get people, everybody agreeing with you. You get some agreeing with some not agreeing with you. But you can ignite discussion by being a little bit controversial. So even if they disagree with you, you have brought it to the fore. You have made it a headline that everybody is talking about. And very soon, something will be done about it, even if not your own proposal. Before I conclude, and this did not go into the slide, as a writer for social change, I mean, you must be careful about certain things when you are writing. Check and recheck your facts. Check and recheck your facts, because you're writing for social and then you'll be telling us things that are not true. That the government did that and then we go and check and it's not true. No, you must, because if your readers find you not trustworthy, they will not follow you anymore. They will not take you seriously anymore, right? So check and recheck. If you are using AI, please recheck what AI is saying. And it's very easy to find out whether any information is true or not. Just put it in the search engine, Google or whatever you are using. And if you will see the website and link that are talking about it, if it's really a genuine issue out there, it will be shared by more than one media houses and accredited, very well accredited media houses. So check your fact. Don't just have hearsays and opinions and you just go and you write about it without rechecking the fact, because it speaks to your credibility. And try, as a social change writer, try as much as possible to be apolitical or non-political. Your goal is to bring about social change in the manner that you see fit. It's not in the manner as a party sees fit. Once you become aligned to a political party, people will always read you based on that definition. That, oh, this one is always opposing. This one is always supporting the government. This one is always opposing the government. No, you don't want to be that writer. You want to be that writer people listening to, whether in opposition or in power, right? So try as much as possible to be fair to each side, right? common law of justice that every side must be heard. So if you have heard something about side A, you must get side A to respond to them or take the view. Let us also see what side that person also said about what he or she has been accused of. Of course, you want to always write well and check your punctuation, grammar, and all that. You don't want it to get in the way of what you really want to say. Because if you are writing and there's a lot of grammatical errors and punctuation and all that, now the reader is now correcting your errors instead of focusing on what you are saying. And of course, don't be too long, be concise and precise. And as much as possible, use the storytelling style. It keeps your readers hooked to it and keep them reading your work as well. With that said, now we can conclude. In conclusion, the pen against power. The pen against power. Ken Saro's Wiwa's Legacy. And those of you who are from Nigeria, I'm sure you are familiar with Ken Saro. In the early 1990s, Ken Saro Wiwa or Waiwa, the Nigerians will tell me how to mention that, a Nigerian writer and environmental activist, saw his homeland, Ogoniland, being devastated by oil pollution from multinational corporation. And I'm told it was mostly Shell, right? The rivers were poisoned, the farmland destroyed, and the people suffered immensely. But Ken Saro, instead of picking up a weapon, like what many of them were doing, they pick weapons, they kidnap, the oil gurus, and they ask for money, and then they will let them go, or sometimes they will even kill them. But he didn't do that. He picked up a pen. Through his essays, speeches, and satirical literature, he exposed the exploitation of his people. His words ignited a movement, mobilizing thousands to demand justice. Despite threats and imprisonment, he kept writing, believing that the power of storytelling would awaken the world. In 1995, he was executed by the military regime, but his words lived on. His writings inspired global outreach, leading to policy changes and environmental justice movement that still echo today. And I think it's, was this Sani Abacha? Or I don't know, I'm sure it's Sani Abacha's time. So he was killed for his words, his writings.
Yes, I'm just Isana Abacha. He's a Nigerian from the Niger Delta. It was the military junta and Sani Abacha that killed him. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. So you see how powerful words can be and how far it can go, right? You and I, we don't have the strength to pick up arms and go and demand justice with violence. No, it's not even the right way to go. With our pens, pencils, and these days our keyboards, computers, we can make real changes, and these changes will live on. Everybody will read 50 years time, 20 years time, and also be inspired and can connect with it because of similar things that may be happening in their community or during their time. So the quote on your screen says, Saro's Wild story reminds us that words are not just ink on paper, they are weapons of truth capable of shaking empires. The question is, what story will you tell? What injustice will you challenge? And how will your words shape the future? Thank you very much for your time. And I think we'll take some questions now. Madam Host.
All right, so please, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat box so that Dr. Steve can answer them for us. So we have about a minute to do so. If not, then we would appreciate Dr. Steve for this session. Any questions, please drop them on the chat box, or you can unmute and say it as well so that he can address your concerns. as we move on.
Right. You can also be questioning if you have maybe some personal story that you want to share that can also inspire and add to what has been said. It's also be appreciated.
I know. Think I have a question. I don't know that the general house can hear.
We can hear you.
My own is that prior to the launch or my induction into this fellowship, what has been the consciousness on freedom writing? Why has it been very low? Is it that national government, regional government, world government don't want freedom writing, so they are suppressing it technically? Or it's just that the consciousness is not there? Why has the publicity of freedom writing, why has it been very low? There are different aspects of writing, creative writing and other, but you rarely hear about freedom writing. Why has the consciousness been low? That's just my question. Thank you.
Wow, yeah, that's a very big question that I don't know whether I have the answers. Yes, I think it's the part of the reason is because of the suppression that freedom writers go through. It's not easy being a freedom writer. You have to be bold, very, very bold to be a freedom writer. And you have to be loud and stand firm. And not many people are ready to go through that order. But these days, everybody is now thinking about bread and butter, how to make money fast. And oh, who am I? Yeah, I think sometimes it's because we know of one or two people who have tried and never succeeded. So we lose interest.
Courage,
So
yes.
yes, it's a combination of a lot of factors, and we need to raise new generation of patriots and people who are daring and can stand firm and talk true to power, as they say. Maybe yes, ILEE is doing his best, but yeah, we have more to do to raise new generation of freedom writers. But you have taken the first step just by acknowledging the fact that yes, we are declining and we need to do more.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful. Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Steve, for that great answer. Richard Afavi has something to say. I think it's a comment. He says, the norm where people are attacked when they try to state and just oppose real life happenings that affects us in societies must be disallowed. And then there's a question from Mr. Eric Kofi. He says, how can you keep motivated on writing for social change despite the challenges?
Yeah, motivation comes from within. It's come from, and that's why I mentioned that I like the passion of Felix, because when you have passion, you are motivated. The motivation comes from within. So it's your focus is on the impact you want to bring to society more than the side benefits. All right. Of course, we are human beings, we are in a society, we need to make money. It's important. But if you focus on the money, you lose motivation. You focus so much on the negatives too, on the challenges too, you also lose motivation. Motivation must come from within, and you know that this is what is going on in your society, and you are highly against, and you want change. Many of us we want change to happen, but we don't know how. Just take your pen and write it. Right? Find a newspaper that accepts freelance writing and all those writing. Find create your own blog spot. Do something. Write something. Create a social media handle and write about these things. Very soon you get 5 followers, you get 10, you get 50. Very soon everybody's sharing what you are posting. So it starts with doing something, but the motivation must come from your passion, must come from within. Otherwise, but then the question is, then how do I keep the passion going? That's something else that I don't know how we keep it going. But once you write a story and it's impactful, your passion will be ignited, and it will keep going, to keep you going, right? So let's keep writing, and one day we'll have a story that will have a lot of impact, and that will reignite your passion and help us also to mentor other upcoming freedom writers. Is the only thing I can say is that the motivation must come from within. If that is not there, nothing else can motivate you.
Thank you very much. That was very, very brilliant too. Thank you, Doctor.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Steve. Are there more questions, or do we move ahead? If you have a question, please unmute and ask immediately. There's one thing I picked from this session is, if you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write. With this, we should be inspired that even in our small corners, we can write to influence the society positively. Like the person who asked the question earlier was saying, there are few freedom writers. You can be the change. If you start writing, it means that it can affect those around you and motivate them to also take up that challenge. So be the change where you are, and that would affect everyone. Whilst we wait for more questions, we'd like to thank Dr. Steve so much for that educative and interesting session. We are so grateful. It has been so interesting, and we'd like to show our appreciation by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat box, and also write your name and where you are joining from so that we get to know your engagement so far.
Hello, can you hear me?
President, do you want to say something?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good evening. So we once again thank Dr. Morgan. This is one of the most practical sessions of the Freedom Writers Fellowship Virtual Workshop. Actually, the sessions were divided into two. The first three is supposed to be more of a theoretical base, and the next three sessions are more of practical base. So this is one of the first practical sessions that we've had, and I hope all of us have gained some practical experience on how we can write for change, because that's actually our aim or our goal of this workshop, is to get motivated to write and to improve our society. So we thank Dr. very much for this wonderful presentation. It was really practical. In fact, there are so many things that I've learned practically, not just in theory, but also practically that I'm going to put into practice from now on. And I have some couple of questions. The first question is that, in fact, these days, especially in our part of the world, reading is not actually our culture. African, we are used to speaking, vocalizing, all that. So our culture is not entirely based upon writing. Even go to Europe and other countries, they have been trained to read since infancy. Children have been trained to read, so reading and writing is common to them. But in Africa, it's not our culture. We are not trying to imbibe it. So how can we write hoping that people read? Would they actually read? What about those who are illiterate? How do we get our information to them? Because we want to change society. Change society is not only about those who can read and write. What about those illiterate who can't also read and write? How can we reach out to them? And then my second question is also, you mentioned when writing for change, we shouldn't be political. And I know what he meant actually. He mean not being partisan. Partisan is wrong, but being political, I think, is not bad, because society and politics are intertwined. I don't think I take politics out of society. It's rather not being partisan, like being biased towards one political side. Yeah, so I want him to grasp on that, and also how we can reach out to those who are I know in Africa, majority of the people are illiterate, and I can reach out to them as a way of writing and communicating for change. So there's two questions that I have for him.
Well, I think it's just one question. The second one, you are just clarifying that by political, I meant partisan. And I think you are right. Yes. So, like we all know, man is a political animal, right? We cannot take politics out of our being. It is with us everywhere we go. So yes, you are right. I mean, don't be partisan. Don't write through the lens of a political party's ideology and all that. But yeah, be open-minded. Be receptive to other ideas if you think they are good. Say it. If you think they are bad, say it. All right, so that is that. But the more important and more critical question is how we can get or reach out to illiterate in quotes. I put illiterate in quotes people, given the fact that in our culture we don't like reading. I don't know whether it is still our culture that we don't like reading. Maybe it is. I mean, in our culture we don't like reading was said of our grandparents and mothers. I don't know whether in this culture of our Gen Zs and millennials, we also don't like reading. That one you can answer it for yourself, whether you like reading or not. But yeah, on one strand or on one stand of it, we can say that we can use what people like to do. We don't like reading. We like social media a lot. We love social media a lot. So use the social media route. Create short quotes, provocating quotes, right? Memes, whatever it is you can do. Social media, TikTok, whatever, Facebook, X and co, Instagram and co. And share it there with nice background music and just to get your message out there. Everybody's on social media these days, and we can do that. Even the illiterate, they know how to use smartphones and go on social media, right? So regarding those who cannot read and write, now there are so many answers I can give you. And the first one, as freedom writers, those of us who can read and write, must write side that those who cannot read and write are able to read and write. Why? Because it's against it's against their freedom. Because literacy is freedom. But if you don't know, if you cannot read and write and you are entering a danger area, how do you know it's a danger? It is written boldly there, and you go there and you get killed, right? So those of us who can read and write, must advocate by writing that education becomes free and accessible to as many people as possible. That's one strand of it. Secondly, those who cannot read and write, but they cannot read and write what? Is it that they cannot read and write the English language? Then let's write in the local language. Let's write in our local languages too, so that we are not only writing English with big grammar and big words that even though university professors must go and find dictionary and see what you are trying to say. No, let's also then learn how to write in our local languages, so that we also write in our local language. And when I was in South Africa studying and teaching part-time there, I appreciated how they don't play with their languages. They had national newspaper in Zulu. If you are in the Zulu province, if you are in the Xhosa province, they have national newspaper in that language. If you are in the, what do you call it? The white people's province, or forgotten their language. They also have national television that's uses that language and all that. But over here, I don't know how many newspapers in Ghana here. I don't know for Nigeria, but in Ghana, I don't know how many newspapers that we have that uses the local language. I've not seen any Akan or Asante or Chi newspaper. I've not seen any Ghana newspaper ever in newspaper. All we have is English, right? So if they cannot read and write English, maybe they can read and write Chi or something. So let's also translate what we write. And it also tells a lot about us as freedom writers, right? If we only can write in our colonial languages, then it's also a problem for us. So we need to make what the knowledge accessible to everybody. Social media, then maybe we need to employ other literary styles, maybe drama, whatever, oral storytelling. That will help. You can put whatever you want to say in a story form, and put the normal characters. And they will act out and they will get it. But the information, what you have written down is ideas. Ideas can be expressed either singing, music, either drama or poetry, or whatever way you can write it. But they must not be left behind. That one is very important. So we have a lot of work to do as freedom writers, actually. Thank you very much.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
thank you, Dr. Stephen, for that. And thank you so much. We are so grateful and honored for you to be our facilitator for today's session. We want to say thank you again. We'd also like to remind our listeners that and participants that this program is being sponsored by Atlas Network and Yafo Institute. So next week, Saturday, 5th April, we'll be having our next session, which is journalism and advocacy writing. And this would be facilitated by Dr. Nathaniel Amwa. He's a lecturer at the University of East London, UK. So if you're excited for next week's session as well, I want you to drop an emoji in the chat box showing how excited you are, and also show appreciation to Dr. Stephen Inkansa Morgan for this insightful session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, our host, and thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to all the participants who came in. All your comments and your questions have also been insightful. And then, in fact, what I said, many of the things I said also to challenge myself also. So we are all challenged to do better. And so thank you for this experience that I've been able to share with you.
All right, thank you so much, Doc. We are much grateful. And I want to congratulate our fellows once again. Congratulations on being selected for this fellowship. I know you are learning and continuing to learn. Know that there will be a grand finale, so put in your best. Whenever we have a session, please join on time. Today, most of you didn't join early, so please make sure you join on time next week, Saturday, 5th April, Saturday, 4 p.m. prompt. Please join. We'll drop the link, so please join. And also, Doc, we are grateful. So that ends today's session. Your assignments will be sent to the group. Doc will formulate an assignment for us and we'll share it for you, all of you, to work on it. So thank you all for joining, and that will be it for today's session. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye from Tajuddin, Amusala, Sisi, Nigeria. Bye.
God bless you all.
Bye. Balkis, bye. I've been greeting you. You don't want to talk to me. Balkis, Anuba, bye. Bye. Stabel, bye. Georgina, bye. Albert, bye. Krastania, bye. Eric Coffee, bye. Richmond, Afave, bye. Stedman, bye. Ose, Opare, bye.
I see you are really doing a assessment. That's so nice. Okay, bye.
A new friend that doesn't want to greet me. What's her name? She has run away. Bye.